Boys and girls, it is that time of the year again. After 2 weeks of stuffing your cuddly face cheeks with cookies and alcohol, reconnecting with family members you forgot even existed, and treating your liver worse than YouTube is treating its content creators, it is now finally time to start fresh. That is why I love the beginning of a new year. I can basically pretend I can erase all of my past failures and still set up new goals and expectations for the future. Only of course to miserably fail them 2 days later and go back to my daily dose of memes and hentai, I mean anime. That is most definitely the word I was looking for. Not that makes it any better. But anyway, welcome back everybody to the channel. I hope you guys all had a great holiday season. I'm still here, live and kicking for those wondering. Still breathing, just barely to pass off as a live human being. But today we have some big plans. Now in the previous episode, if you remember this, we were left off in this bat cave right here. No, nobody kidnapped us or anything. This was the base that I built, and to my surprise and probably everybody's surprise, this somehow didn't collapse yet. I got a ton of comments in the previous video telling me that eventually all of this terrain that I edited would eventually regenerate, but apparently it didn't so far, and the cave is in the same state it's been since I left it. So I'm actually quite surprised that we can start the new year on a more positive light. So what is the goal over here, you might be asking yourselves now? Well, I have something really big planned out for this playthrough, because in today's video I am going to be hunting for something extremely rare, very expensive, very hard to get, and I'm going to get all of that for free, even though I can kinda, afford it. I mean, I have enough funds to do that. But you know what, since my character is pretty much a cheap bastard who wouldn't pay 2 cents to buy a candy to a homeless child, I'm pretty much going to go ahead and abuse the system and get this entire thing without paying a single dime. So yeah, once my plan was set, I blasted off into my new journey, on the way alternating between contemplating my new genius plan and rubbing my hands together while laughing like a maniac. But eventually I did reach my destination, which was basically this oversized telephone pole. So what I did is I climbed at the top, naturally, and what I did is I started calling random aliens. It was a little bit like Omegle, except that instead of random chicks and guys pretending to wash dishes off camera, it was this dude right here who looked like he just jumped into a fight with a whole field of catnip and lost. I mean, this guy was baked out of this world. I was able to get this screenshot before he started pretty much levitating and flying into space. Well, figuratively, because he was still there all acting creepy. Oh yeah, and the back of his head looked like the shape of a penis for some reason. Did anybody else notice this in the past? I've been playing this game for such a long time and never saw this until now. But anyway, eventually he started questioning my existence to the point that I started questioning his, and yeah, I embarked on a journey to help him because he was so high out of his mind that not only did he forget where he left his ship, he also forgot where he left his own body. Imagine being in such a state that you forgot where you left your own self. But you know what, I was determined to help him, so that is exactly what I did. I started triangulating his position, going from one planet to another, triangulating some more, to the point that I found this outpost, and it was pretty much in the middle of a planet that kept trying to kill me, so naturally I had to go inside and kind of take a little bit of shelter. And here is where I had my first revelation in this playthrough. There's actual NPCs on the surface of planets, not just like walking randomly. I mean, this guy for example had a whole set of behaviors. One second he was upkeeping the outpost, the next one he would be pretty much like me, crying into a corner and questioning his purpose after having relapsed back into watching anime memes. Yeah, I think that about at this point the game was trying to tell me something. But yeah, eventually this guy, decided that I was too rude to interfere, so he pretty much kicked me out of his house, and I was again left on my own 2 feet in the middle of a freaking planet with a storm trying to kill me. But it was all good because I could progress through the next part of my main mission. Oh, and also I shot him in the dick before leaving. It was okay though, because I immediately jumped back into space and got a Skype call from my alien friend, who was now frantic about me, learning his language and all that kind of stuff. So I again obliged, because for some reason we spoke to each other earlier, but we couldn't actually understand what we were talking to each other. It was actually the catnip that was breaking the barrier off. Like, have you ever been so drunk or high that you could literally understand the other person who was equally as drunk or high next to you, even though that person was foreign and never spoke your language in the first place? No? Just me? I think the game is trying to tell me something once more. Anyway, my journey eventually brought me to this temple right here, an ancient ruin of endless power, knowledge and secrets, and at the top of it all there was this cool floating bubbly thingy called chicken abstraction, which sounds like the coolest thing ever. Chicken abstraction sounds like the type of name I would give to my firstborn child. So obviously I was expecting to get something really cool in return, and I actually kinda did. I got a trident key, to the point that I actually started believing that I would become Aquaman, go back to Atlantis and pretty much kick it off with all of those fish chicks over there, and yeah, that was not really the case. I basically got a rusty old key that was barely worth anything. So to avoid anybody going through the same frustration that I did, I decided to bury the entire temple so that nobody has to find it again, which is exactly what I did, and the police got involved and they didn't like it. Just a little bit of frosting over here at the top and perfect. This looks exactly like how it's supposed to look. Oh, and apparently the sentinel that was trying to chase me a few seconds ago, it's actually buried underground and now it lost sight of me, so you can, well, yeah, you can go ahead and bury your foes into the ground and they will not be able to search you, and not only that, you're going to lose all of those wanted stars over there. Anyway, this was all done. I learned all the languages that I needed in order to understand what Artemis was saying, which was, well, basically BS. Of course, this also involved me running in and doing some errands and also doing some missions for the Corvax, and since these guys were one of the most peaceful civilizations around, all I had to do was, you know, just pet a couple of kittens, and this kitten definitely didn't look alright. But yeah, eventually I did finish the quest for my, I'm not gonna pronounce his name. But yeah, doing that earned me a favor with him, so he put me in contact with one of his friends, who was basically this guy right here. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and tell him that I am a friend of Artemis. No, you're not? What do you mean I'm not? I literally talked to him like a few moments ago. Call yourself whatever you want, but you can't hide the truth. Friend is just a label, a pretense to make you feel better about being alone? Apollo, how could you roast me like that in front of my audience? Dude, this guy literally destroyed me, like took my dreams, put them on the ground, smashed them and took a big dump over them. That is exactly what he did right here. When did No Man's Sky become such a savagery? Seriously, this is inconceivable. Oh yeah, and after all of that, he's just like, yeah, by the way, do you want to hang out or anything? I kinda don't have anything to do this afternoon. Yeah, I'm definitely going to go ahead and spend my evening with somebody who just shattered my dreams. But anyway, from this point is when, well, that mission with the free freighter starts, and this is roughly 4 hours in the game if you, well, follow it properly, which is something that I didn't because I was busy, you know, making bank. But the first mission is something that happens very early on in the game, and it's around this time when you get a chance to spawn a freighter bell and get it pretty much for free if you liberate it. Now the problem is that the first mission that you get at the beginning of the game is hard-coded to give you a normal freighter, which means that no matter how many times you teleport, no matter how rich are the systems, no matter how many tries you have, it's still going to give you a normal sized freighter. So what I did instead is I accepted the mission, I liberated the first freighter, but when I got into the captain's cabin, I declined it. Because I declined the first one, that means that the next one is also going to be free. But I'm not entirely certain how much this lasts, because it did happen in the past for me to, well, lose the option to get it for free the second time. But this time I decided to do it properly. So I went into the closest space station, I sat over there, and for the next 3 hours of in-game time, I just sat and contemplated life and waited until all of the 3 hours have passed. And from this point on, what I did is I teleported into 4 more systems, or 5, can't really remember, but basically on the 4th try, I saved into the next space system that I traveled into, saved over there, and lo and behold, the 5th one was another freighter bell, because I met the conditions. And not only did I meet the condition, I had it for free because I declined the previous one that I just had. So from this point on, what I had to do was simply scout all of these systems. I've even backed up my save file with the system before the actual fight itself. So I started scouting randomly, and I'm not gonna lie, this was quite an ordeal. It took at least a few hours in order to do this, about 5 to be more precise, of just scouting and scouting and scouting to the point that I reached the edge of desperation. But eventually I was lucky enough and blessed by the No Man's Sky gods to find this system right here with this particular model. It was basically the biggest size you can find, and most important of them all, it had a really awesome color scheme. In this case, a really nice tint of blue, teal, somewhere along those lines, as well as orange, which I believe looks absolutely insane with this entire scheme going on over here. Obviously, my ordeal was not done yet, and even though I didn't include that in this video, as that would prolong it unnecessarily long, I did have to, well, do a lot of retries and reloads and re-going back into the system until I got a maximum rank one. But eventually I actually did. It took me like at least 4 or 5 hours more in order to do this, but it was most definitely worth it. So as soon as I saw the prompt, I went into the captain's cabin, checked out the stats and all of that, and it looked pretty legit. I really liked the way it looked. It's a maximum rank, and of course it was all free of charge. Again, this was the only time in which I was able to do this, and I took the advantage. So this is me with my freighter right now. I got my first freighter, even though I didn't have the money for it, or probably I did, I'm not entirely sure. I did manage to nab this one for free, and I'm actually very excited because the first time I did it in my first playthrough, it didn't work, and I kind of got pissed ever since. But now it is right here in front of you, and as you can see, it looks absolutely crazy. But yeah, this is it with the episode right here. I'm going to try to fit these as many as possible into my schedule. Of course, these take quite a bit of time to actually film because I'm actually including hours upon hours of footage into just like one 10 to 15 minute video. So everything you're seeing right here has been in the span of about 3 hours at the very least, not including all of the reloading, because that's something that took another, like, I'm not sure, 7 hours more that I did for the next couple of days after filming this. This was, by the way, before the New Year's Eve. Anyway, I'm done, I'm already exhausted. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye everybody.